Hey everybody, Coach Dan here with Keira D'Amato once again. Hey Keira.
Hey, how are you?
I am great. I'm so grateful you're here again as part of our Bank of America Chicago Marathon training in partnership with Nike Chicago and Nike Running. This has been quite a summer for you.
Yeah, yeah, it has. Yeah, I don't know. I'm living it up this summer, right? I'm getting my summer on, I guess.
You sure are. We'll get to where our athletes are and in Chicago training in a minute, but I can't just breeze by the summer you've had. Last time we chatted, you were just in Boston. You had won the BAA 10K. Since then, you keep coming back to New England and leaving your mark on top of the podium here. You won the legendary Falmouth Road Race, the scenic 7 miler through my wife's hometown of Falmouth, Massachusetts.
Oh,
And
cool.
you run just on Monday the New Haven 20K USATF Championships
Mhm.
against a stacked field, really, in both cases. Let's talk about Falmouth first. You won that race. You beat Edna Kiplagat and Marielle Hall, American two-time Olympian, incredible distance runner. And Edna, I think, has potentially as much marathon hardware in world championships and world majors as the entire United States does in the past 20 years. She is a
Yeah,
legend
it's
among
funny because
legends.
the night before the race, we were looking up her stats, and I've raced her a couple times, and she's a fierce competitor. But we were like, which marathons has she won? And the answer is all of them. We like looked it up, and she's either won or podiumed on all of them, like 2 world championships. She's
Mhm.
won, I think, Boston and London, and just Chicago. Like it's just insane her credentials. So like when I made like an accidental move in that race because I got real excited for a water stop and then I found myself in the lead,
Mm.
and it was during like the really hot stretch with like no shade or anything, and it was really flat, and I was like, well, this is probably the most awkward time to make a move, which makes it really surprising. No one's going to
Right.
make a move like halfway through the race. So I kind of went with it, but she went with me and she was right on my shoulder, and it's terrifying having looked up her stats the night before and having her on your shoulder. It's like I was being tracked by a lion in a way. So I ran pretty scared, but I was able to run away at the end, which surprised me a little bit. But that was a fun one.
Yeah, incredible. That's funny. The stats are in your head. You're right there. If you needed any other nudge of confidence, which I don't think you need at this point, you can take that one for sure. Seeing the stats and then still taking home the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun bit of trivia: that stretch where you made the move is where I got married.
No
Right
way.
there, yeah, right
I
on
must
shore.
be like
Shore
harnessing
Drive.
you. I'm like, oh man, Dan's had some good times here. I'm gonna put down some good times here. That's
I need to know where that move
beautiful.
was made. If it was right there or at the spot.
It's like right where the water stop was, but it's a really pretty stretch of beach.
It
And then you could
is.
see the lighthouse and everything. Like, well done. I'm sure maybe that was more your wife, but well done to her. That was awesome.
She's the hometown person there. Talk us through New Haven. So you battled with Emily Sisson. She is you're obviously the American record holder in the marathon. She is the American record holder in the half. So you've really established yourself as, when you're training for the race, you got thrown into the world championships unexpectedly, probably.
Yeah.
But when you've been fully prepared for all of these races in the summer, and you're knocking them out of the park against the best American competition. Can you talk us through that race in New Haven this week?
Yeah. So yeah, that was on Labor Day, and that was my first time racing, and it was the 20K US Championships. And I knew it was going to be a tight battle between Emily Sisson and I. And like you said, she has the American record in the half marathon. So definitely I had her on my mind knowing. And actually, like I've seen her race a whole bunch. We haven't had too many of these head-to-head matches when we've both been like at our peak and really fit. So this was really exciting to do that. But I admire her so much when she races because she goes out and she goes for it, and she's not concerned what other people are doing. Like she's a tough racer, but she's so confident in herself that she knows like her plan and her race, and she's going to go do it whether people are running with her or not. And that's a girl after my own heart because that's how I kind of like to race too. So I knew it was going to be a battle. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of with that race is I went in with a goal. Like my goal that day was to win. And usually my goal is a little bit more specific and not like something that I can completely control, like a pace goal or a time goal. But for this day, it was to win since it was a championship race. And
Right.
I just told myself beforehand, like, I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to reach my goal. And I think sometimes when we set goals like that, it feels like a goal and we put it on a pedestal and we feel like it's unobtainable. But like I went in thinking, this is my goal and I deserve to hit my goal today. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do to hit my goal. And I'm really proud of myself because like there are parts in the races where I was like, oh, this is tough. Like this really hurts. Like I don't know. But I just kept answering back, like, I'm going to hit my goal today. And I think that's so important kind of for others to hear is to go in just feeling like with a really strong sense of what you're doing, like especially when you're thinking about a marathon. There's going to be so many points in a marathon that you're like, why am I doing this? It's okay. I don't really care about that goal, but be prepared. Like that is little negative thoughts are going to come in your head, but be prepared to answer back and say, no, I set a goal and I'm reaching my goal today, and I feel like I really nailed it. And there was times that I kind of wanted to quit, but I knew as soon as I slowed down or I let her go, like I wasn't going to hit my goal. So I just felt so stubborn that I was going to hit it. And somehow I pulled out that win. It was really not not a decisive win, in the last mile. I was like, well, she got a lot of speed, so I better like really start kicking with like a mile to go. And so I was able to break away from her then. But I'm just proud that like I just mentally I stayed so attached and so engaged and just like I didn't let those little negative thoughts get to me in that race. So I feel like that was a really big step forward for me.
That's awesome. That's great to hear all that context. You didn't leave yourself much room there. If your goal is time, you can leave some room. You can hit your time. You could come in sixth. You can come in first if you hit your goal. But with that goal, you really have to stretch yourself. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
and that's why I usually don't like setting goals that revolve around other people. Like I like to be like totally in control myself. So usually it is kind of a time goal, or sometimes it's even just compete. Like run how you feel and just compete, with everyone around you. Stay there and compete. So I've had different goals. So this one I felt like I was putting myself out there a lot, especially because Emily Sisson is, one of the most decorated like distance runners. So um but she she's a tough one, man. That was not an easy race. So I'm proud that I was able to come out. And that was my third ever national championship. And as 37-year-old, it's I'm pretty proud that I get to keep adding to that number. So
Well, we're so proud of you, and it's incredible to watch. You definitely seem to be ready for that kind of goal. Looking at the summer you had in the lead up, two big wins ahead of that one, heading into a strong USA championship. So congratulations on that.
yeah.
Let's talk about Chicago Marathon and Chicago Marathon training. You came in fourth back in October 2021, just a couple months before you ran the fastest time by an American ever. And can you talk to us about, Chicago is notoriously flat.
Mhm.
There's the little hill at the end. But when you know that about a course, do you do any specific training around that, around like a specifically flat course, or do you always just focus on making yourself a powerful athlete? How do you consider the specifics of Chicago in your training?
Yeah, I think when like, first off, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I think you all picked such a good race with Chicago. It is such a fast course. You have the opportunity to run your best time. And that one little hill at the end, you're almost like so excited to see it because it's at the end. So once you get to that hill, you're like, if this is what I need to get up to finish the race, so don't fear that hill, be excited for that hill. And you will be so thrilled to see that because as soon as you reach the top, you'll be able to turn and pretty much see the finish line. So that's a very, very welcome hill in the race. But I think with knowing that it's going to be so flat, I would train on conditions that are similar to that. So I would try to find some flat stretches of road get used to getting in a rhythm, because there's not going to be hills to kind of break up your stride. You're going to have to really feel out of rhythm and get used to like grinding in a rhythm. And I think kind of one of the downsides of a flat course is that you're using the same muscles over and over and over. So maybe practice putting in a little like quicker tempo, or like in the middle of your race, if you feel like you're really starting to like fall back a little bit, put in a little bit of some quick steps just to break it up and use some different muscles to like re-energize you. So, but yeah, I think training on like the race conditions is really smart. And then also I would make sure that you're training at the time of day that you're going to race. I think what starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. So especially on weekends, I know we all have really busy like work schedules, but when you have the time, practice going through a long run at that time of the day. And so practice now, when we're about 4 weeks out, practice now what you're going to eat in the morning, and practice it before, and go through those motions now, because you still have time to fine tune those elements, and if you wait till the last week, then you're not going to know if this breakfast is going to work with the long run at that time of day, or is that going to be enough, is that not enough. So I think when you can start practicing that now and practicing that routine, I think that's really, really important too. And then I think also knowing that it's really flat, I think you can start picking out like your gear and your shoes are really, really important. And you don't want to do your first race. I know you probably all heard this, but you don't want to do your first race in new shoes. But I think it's important that you find a pair of shoes that works for you. And I like having, I go in either the VaporFlies or the AlphaFlies for Nike. Those are really great marathon shoes. So that might be worth investing in a pair of those and practicing out either during a tempo or a run, and just making sure you're feeling comfortable. But right now you want to start testing all those products. What shorts are you going to run in? What singlet? Start testing those out now, so you have the confidence on race day that it's going to work for you because you've done it before.
Yep. When it comes to the choice between AlphaFly and VaporFly, we've had internally at Heartbreak among ourselves, and I've chatted with other professionals about the shoes as well. Which do you prefer for the marathon in particular?
Definitely the AlphaFly for the marathon, and because it's a little more cushiony, and I feel like especially like later on the race, when you're not able to catch yourself and you're pounding a little bit more, that's going to absorb a lot of the shock. And I have, like, when I ran the American record, I was in the AlphaFlies, and I felt like even at the end I was really tired, but I wasn't feeling like totally drained. Like my legs still felt like they had a lot of life. And I think because I was wearing like that super cushion in the AlphaFlies. So, but I think it's also preference. For a while I was doing marathons in the VaporFly because I felt like they're a little more responsive and I can go in and out of paces. But for marathons where I'm just I have a pace goal and I know what I'm gonna get, I really prefer the AlphaFlies because I feel like I can just lock in that pace and stay there. So, definitely personal, but I go for the AlphaFly for marathons.
Yeah. Okay. You're confirming other conversations. We chatted with Galen about this. Marielle and I did an interview with Galen before last Chicago, and we had chatted a little bit about the shoes, and both of those athletes had mentioned that the AlphaFly feels a little slow. And you mentioned it in the same way, where the VaporFly feels more responsive. And that's kind of what our customers feel too. They feel the expected pop and speed out of the VaporFly. But Galen and Marielle were remarking that in spite of like the extra squishiness where you don't feel like you're going quite as fast in the AlphaFly, you are going fast in the AlphaFly. And you just have to kind of trust it and know that for the marathon, the extra padding really goes a long way for
They're so comfortable.
Yeah.
You wonder how they can be so fast, because in the past we've said, hard shoes are faster, but now we're seeing these really comfortable shoes can really take a lot of like the weight off of your body and keep your legs feeling fresh even at the end. So I definitely recommend, like, even before I was at this level, like I was prioritizing like a good pair of shoes to be able to really find my best. And so I definitely recommend investing in a good pair of shoes for race day.
Yeah, it's worth it. You got a lot going on race day, hotels, race fees. Don't skimp on the shoes, right?
Yeah, but then also, I mean, when you've invested so much of your life in
Yeah,
training, and like they make a huge difference. So it's, I don't know, I think that one last little thing that's really going to help you and just bring you a little more confidence when like you're working hard, but your shoes are also working hard for you. I feel like it feels like more like a team, like you have some help on race day.
yeah, absolutely. We're our athletes are heading into a 13-mile week this week. Both programs are beginner and intermediates. In both programs, it's also sandwiched between monster weeks. The longest long run is next weekend. One of their longest runs was the week before. So they're really in the thick of it now. This close to a race, or and when you're in the midst of this period, I'm wondering if you have any like general tips you like. And then the other piece I like to think about is runs go exceptionally well sometimes, and runs go poorly, or you might be really tired. So how do you work through feeling not so great? Do you adjust in your mindset and execution on a day that you don't feel great? Because that happens in your longest long run, your most consequential run, your final, or you may also feel great. So how do you adjust what you're giving, or your mental approach to the physicality ebbs and flows of a long run?
Yeah, I think that marathon training is not supposed to be easy. And I think that's by design because a marathon's not easy. You're not always going to be feeling great. You're not always going to be feeling excited. And actually, this happened to me last week. It was my last workout before New Haven. I got up the morning of my last workout, and this was like, I think 3 or 4 days before the race. And you kind of look to this workout to like give you the confidence that you're like ready to go. And I woke up and I was feeling just so like blah. Like my coach was like, "How are you feeling?" And I'm like, "Meh." Like that's like I wanted to stay in bed. I didn't want to get out, but then I thought like I have goals. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna go for it. So I got my clothes on. I put my shoes on. I made it to the track, and my coach was like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "I feel like flat and like heavy and just like." And he's like, "This is marathon training. That's normal."
Mhm.
Um, so I did my warm up and I started the workout, and the first like set was just like a little off. And like part of me was like, you should just can it. Like you don't have it today, just can it. And I was like, you know what? If I want to hit my goal, this is what I'm going to need to work through. And I didn't realize when it was happening, but I kept at it and I kept going at it. And the more I ran, the better I started feeling. And by the end of the workout, I actually finished the workout in my fastest times all season. And as I was cooling down, I was getting emotional that like I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to run that day. I was feeling really bad. And I don't even know why I'm getting emotional right now, but I pushed through it and I did it anyways. And I gave myself a shot, and I just kept pushing and I didn't know how far I would go. I didn't even know if I'd finish the workout, but I gave it a shot and I ended up finishing my best. And I think that that's just like such a great metaphor for marathoning in general, that it's going to hurt. It's not going to feel good, but you got to push through. So even on those days where you feel flat, you feel whatever, that's normal in marathon training, and you got to push through it and give yourself a chance for something really awesome to happen. But so I can relate. Even pros, the marathon record holder has days that I do not want to run, and somehow I find like the courage to start. So I guess just knowing that that's normal and everyone kind of feels that way, and just like I said, kind of be resilient with those goals, but push through it. Like this, these last few weeks are really the important weeks. And then you'll have a little bit of taper where you'll get your legs back. So it's okay to run on heavy legs now. And it's okay. Like, you're going to have some days where you don't feel great, or even when you're done, you're going to have days you're like, well, that didn't go as good as I want, but make sure you're recovering in between. And it's kind of how it should feel right now. So keep going. You guys are rocking it, man.
Kara, I love that. I think that's why you inspire our community, and the world's running community, is that sort of human spirit you give to give yourself a shot, and remind all of us to give ourselves a shot, through the challenge, through whatever story we had that got us here. So thank you for sharing that. That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
something people can take with them on the weekend, and in particular on race day.
Good.
So thank you. We'll check in again on race week, Kira. Really appreciate you sitting with us today, and Thanks for everything. Remember, give yourself a shot.
I'm
So-
rooting for you guys. You got this.